Hello, everybody. I'm recording this because of the scheduling conflicts that happened. I was supposed to speak at the For Everyone at Ignite Justice rally that was today in Oklahoma City. And it just didn't work out. So I said I would upload what I was going to say so that people can watch it and learn how to help and participate. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christopher Johnston, and I'm a member of the People's Council for Justice Reform. I come here as a voice for those whose voice have been silenced for far too long. The forgotten people, or what many call the drudges of society. This speech will be several things: a history lesson, a wake-up call, and a demand for action. President John Adams stated, "Facts are stubborn things. And whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, or the dictates of our passion, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence." This will not be a speech of kumbaya hugs. This is a speech of action. It's time that we end this. The history of why we are here. The Oklahoma County Detention Center, commonly called the Oklahoma County Jail, is by far the most, by any metrics, considered the most dangerous jail in these United States and one of the most dangerous incarceral facilities in the world. It's more dangerous than it's ever been. The sheriff was from the years of 1999 through 2019, when the sheriff was in charge of our jail. We only lost an average of 6 to 7 human beings. 6 to 7 human beings were lost. And now we lose an average of 12 to 15. 16 human beings were lost to death, to needlessly, to mismanagement, patterns and practices of cruelty. As many people may or may not know, the jail is no longer controlled by the county sheriff. It is controlled by a jail trust that was created by the Criminal Justice Advisory Commission. That was created by the Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce. See, a few years ago, the Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce, in its infinite wisdom, which, if anybody doesn't know who the Chamber of Commerce are, they are the wealthiest people in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma County, and probably the whole state. The wealthiest people, billionaires, the Gaylord family, etc., decided one day that they would become the subject matter experts of criminal justice reform. So their recommendation is they created CJAC, which is a non-governmental body, to advise the Board of County Commissioners, which are 3 people: Commissioner Bloomert, Commissioner Kevin Calvey, and Commissioner Brian Maughan. 3 people. And they, in the middle of the night, with staunch objection from many people, to include our district attorney and the former sheriff, they created the jail trust. They stated that the jail trust, those who opposed it, that there would be no way to hold them accountable, that it would be next to impossible to hold them accountable. And as we see, they're right. The Board of County Commissioners, yes, even Democratic darling Carrie Bloomert, voted away our democracy with 3 to nothing vote a few years ago. And in 2019, they created the Jail Trust Indenture, which is a document that is so vague and so layered with just inability to hold people accountable. They took away our voices. This jail trust was created by a state statute that was for property. Not for people, but for property. And that was done intentionally so that the people didn't vote on it. And that's who controls our jail. They'd removed law enforcement and put in people who are ill-equipped. As stated before, we lose twice as many people on average to negligence, death. So many of you all may be familiar with the jail bond that happened. The jail bond that passed. We have been leading the resistance against that. Been one of the groups that have been leading the resistance against that jail bond because of how vague it was, the fact that it was 10% interest over 30 years to get $260 million. So if you add 10% interest over 30 years to include the inflation, it'll be well over $1 billion that we are going to pay now for a newer building that is much larger. We have now greased the wheels for mass incarceration to explode in Oklahoma County. The Oklahoma County taxpayers have. The problems that we have, it's not just a building. Every entity, from the National Institute of Corrections to our state health department and the victims that are in there, have all said that it is the people working inside, many of them, and it's the management. No accountability. A building does not grow an arm and hit people over the head. A building doesn't lock you outside of your cell for torture. A building doesn't turn off your water for punishment. A building does not hand out medication. A building does not prevent you from taking a shower. A building does not prevent someone. I'm going to tell a story. There was a young lady who I came across, a dark-skinned black woman that had been in there for about a week. Petty crime, as most people are. And by the way, 80% of those incarcerated in our Oklahoma County jail are nonviolent offenders. She had a stillborn birth inside that jail. They didn't give her any feminine hygiene products. They didn't give her any extra tissue. They wouldn't let her change her clothes. They wouldn't let her take her a shower. They wouldn't even give her a bar of soap. In a facility where we pump in over $40 million a year from county taxes to cities and municipalities. Cities and municipalities pay over $90,000 a month. I'm sorry, $90,000 a day for rent to house their people in there. It's a giant hotel. So we pump in well over $40 million at every capacity every year, and yet they couldn't give her a bar of soap or a change of clothes. Think about the woman who had the miscarriage a while back. Well, I think it was over a year ago. And the detention officers forced this woman to throw her miscarried baby, miscarried fetus, child, however you want to say it, throw it in the trash can. Did a building do that? Buildings don't create bed bugs. Bed bugs attach to their hosts. They're parasites. Oklahoma County, you were bamboozled. You were fooled. The overwhelming majority of the problems, according to the National Institute of Corrections, Health Department, Department of Justice, are all management. So CJAC, Chamber of Commerce, who control, the Chamber of Commerce, billionaires control our county government, at least at that capacity. They've done everything to buying off clergy, to buying off well-known community activists, whom you see in the news sometimes. Bought them off. Or something. Amazing that they were against mass incarceration. Now they're supportive of it and calling these people who are continuing mass incarceration justice heroes. We cannot accept symbolic victories. Malcolm X stated an eloquent quote that the white man would rather give you symbolic victories rather than economic equity and justice. What he meant by the white man was he generally was talking about our legal system, education, and whatnot. What do I mean by symbolic victories? Doesn't matter of all the murals that get painted in Oklahoma City or other places, or the t-shirts that you wear. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. That's symbolic. That's glitter. That's fluff. The system is still the same. It's still unfairly targeting people. It's still unfairly going after folks. 40% of people inside that jail, on average, are black. And yet less than 13% of Oklahoma County's population are black. Yet when it's 40% at the jail. That's a math equation that doesn't make sense. And most of those folks in there are nonviolent offenders. They're nonviolent offenders. They're still waiting. They're still waiting to go to court. And we, the overwhelming majority of folks, seems to be okay with that. And it's not okay. And I just want to know who taught us this. Who taught us that we had to beg the wealthy, that we had to get on our knees and beg like a dog for a bone, like we have done with CJAC, like we have done with the Chamber of Commerce, in order to fix our situation? Why do we always feel like, the average folk, that we have to get on our knees and beg, please, oh rich white man, please take care of us? They don't care about you. They don't give a damn about you. People's Council for Justice Reform and our allies are demanding that all that have been unjustly targeted be set free. And our fellow human beings housed in our county jail be treated with the dignity and respect that is their human birthright. The contract that this county jail and our government has with its people is that we live under oppression, human beings are worthless, and our leaders do not do a damn thing. No, we should not live under a life contract with those terms. And it is time we draw up new terms and write a new contract that reflects the reality of what we demand. The corrupt and the filth that obstruct justice and run our government and this jail will never change unless we force them. Evil and filth begot evil and filth. They are brutalizing our children, our elders, and everyone, forcing them to sleep with bed bugs in the cold, with rats, gnats in the shower, and food not suitable for nutritional standards, and unexplained brutality and deaths which appear to be the ritualistic behavior of cruel people, brutalizing human beings that continue these shameful actions. Oklahoma County citizens are getting up off of their knees and are starting to not beg for what is right, but fight for what is right. These several years that we have been fighting corruption and greed and systemic torture by the chosen weapons of facts, decency, collaboration, and with like-minded organizations and good law enforcement. And we will not stop until the job is done. All those who have done nothing and hurt people will face the appropriate time in federal prison. Malcolm X stated, "Hence I have no mercy or compassion in me for a society that will crush people and then penalize them for not being able to stand up underneath the weight." We should not feel the need to continue to put on a pedestal, bow down to, worship, sing, praise, beg, and plead with people that are comfortable with the notion that other humans are beneath them, and that those human beings should be ostracized, penalized, criminalized, and delegitimized as people. We should not feel compassion for those people that view their own brothers and sisters as commodities worthy of abuse, neglect, rape, and murder, only for the gains of the wealthy and the powerful, money and power over people. Saying that we should be slaves to those in power, slaves to the lobbyists, and to lick the boots of dirty law enforcement. That we should continue to reinforce the bastions of white supremacy, selling what little soul that we have left for a mess of pottage. And I've got something to say about this. All political power lies in us, the people, according to our state's constitution. And we are at the moment of change when justice will start to be fulfilled. When our country upholds its promise of being a democracy. This is a revolution, the moment that will bring forth the new order. And our opponents are terrified. Look at the laws that they pass. If you don't know why we are still here fighting mass incarceration, let's get to the root of this. We're afraid of little white Timmy feeling uncomfortable about his ancestors and his people currently. We are here because of those moderate whites, as Dr. King wrote, about being the greatest stumbling block to progress. We're afraid of the truth, afraid of losing your place in this ludicrous social caste system built upon lies and deceit, afraid that this country was not this beacon of freedom for everybody, afraid that they will learn who built this country. It was built on the backs of those of color. History is written with their blood, the pillaging of their people, the raping of their people, and the Holocaust that are still happening. It is the fear of black, brown, and poor people, plus the accepted ignorance of not wanting to understand this issue, that has pushed this terror of mass incarceration into every generation. The powers to be hold us for ransom like terrorists every year to keep things the way they are. Architectural social justice, as they have explained who are going to build this jail. Minimal change. Those are the words and the actions of cowards. You've got to be out of your mind to believe this nonsense. That somehow those who are still in power are going to magically, miraculously change. Or that somehow a building is going to miraculously, like a Harry Potter spell, change horrible and indecent people. They fear us who are the brave, and that is why they're clamoring to restrict us. We fight for and support justice for everyone who has felt the flames of injustice and is chained by the shackles of oppression. That is why we have demanded that the Department of Justice take control of our county jail. No more time waiting for incompetent and useless political leaders to decide that they want to do something. Again, we, as well as other freedom fighters, are demanding that the DOJ take over immediately. And we are also partnering with them and giving them and the grand jury information. We can't use the racist states' right talk that Fuchs used during the 20th century. It's time for the federal government to step in. Our organization is proud to be partnering with the DOJ. We have put a man on the moon. We've found the vaccine to COVID. And we have passed civil rights legislation in the past. We can and will do this. The definition of a person is a human being, according to all legal definitions and legal documents. The 14th Amendment states, "No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protections of the laws." That even includes those who are immigrants. You are protected by this Constitution. During times, members of the trust, during the meetings, they have smiled when people have talked about suffering and pain. Jail trust members smiled at stories of people suffering and have even called you all, the victims, the family members, the concerned people, liars, every one of you. They've even called you terrorists, bullies. And that should enrage you. It enrages me. We can't just pray this away or talk to them with that old compromise and sweet talk, saying we must turn the other cheek. You out of your mind? When we do that, it only allows them to keep beating you upside your mouth if we turn the other cheek. Let's turn theirs every legal way possible. We have to tell the truth and fight for the truth. Hark the cries of revolution and gaze upon the failings of justice. This is not black versus white, Republican versus Democrat, protesters versus the police. This is right versus wrong. We fight, and we do not accept anything else but a complete victory for justice and morality. So we unite, rich, poor, black, white, atheist, religious, LGBTQ plus, whatever you are, whoever you are, doesn't matter. We have to unite and fight. We're not messing around. We are not stopping. We don't have the time, nor should we have the desire to not immediately demand change. They have and will continue to obstruct change. Do not compromise, for we must uproot the evil and the wicked. It is time that we make these corrupt people pay dearly for what they have done. I personally do not care if they use the typical cop-out of them having kids and beg for leniency. They don't give us leniency. They don't give those who are incarcerated their leniency. They don't give a damn about us. So why should we care about them? Our over-generosity has allowed evil people to continue to rule and with cruelty. To our leaders, all of them, it's time you pick a side, and you better be on the right one. We have waited long enough. We have negotiated long enough. Tried to bring decency long enough. Preached words of humanity, facts for far too long. And they will not change unless we make them change. Again, if you want change, you have to remove them because they will not change. So now is the time for justice. Now is the time for freedom and time for human dignity. Now is the time we win this war against evil in Oklahoma County. We have to make the walls of the powerful that have been built by oppression fall like the walls of Jericho. It's time we end this fight because we all have skin in the game. This is our call to unity. People's Council, our call to unity. It's time to join. The reckoning is happening. The revolution is here. The new order is here. And we have a lot of work to do. We need everybody willing to join the fight. Strength in number, tactics, and intelligence. We cannot stop. We will not stop, and it is not in our DNA to stop. Nothing the oppressors do will stop the fight in us, for our trumpets will never call defeat. From the plumber to the clergy, unite and fight. Every single legal means. We have to make it stick. We have to end this damn madness. You're probably wondering, how do we fight back? It's pretty simple. One is you have to vote. You have no excuses. Get off and vote. I don't want to hear any of this. Well, I couldn't make it there. No. These people, definitely county commissioners and so on and so forth, that directly affect us, they are the most important. Vote. But most, outside of that, that's most important, is, as I've mentioned before, we are working with the Department of Justice. So help us with our partnership with the DOJ and the grand jury. If you have evidence, we are collecting evidence. We are collecting stories for those who are victims of this jail, their families, and so on. We have to send the government in, the federal government. So I'm going to end with this. Message us on our Facebook page, People's Council for Justice Reform. And you can email me personally at cjohnston16@uco.edu. cjohnston16@uco.edu. And most importantly, we have to remember this. All power to all the people. It is all of us, all power to all the people. Thank you so much.